Hello there, boys and girls, and how are you doing today? I'm sure you must be feeling pretty excited for today's lesson, and so am I. I just want to welcome you to iTTV, and you are with me, Mr. Joel, your tutor for Mathematics Form 4. Today we are going to actually continue with Lesson 5 of Chapter 2, which is called Quadratic Expressions and Equations. And this is actually a continuation of Lesson 4, which is Factorization of Quadratic Expressions. Alright guys, the most important thing to remember is that when you factorize a quadratic expression, you are actually separating a quadratic expression into two parts, which are actually the linear algebraic equations for the left and the right. So today we are going to continue with case number 4. The factorization of ax squared plus bx plus c, where a is not 0, b and c are constants. Alright, if b is not 0 and c is not 0, then the factorization is by the table method, or also known as the cross method. Alright, so we have actually learned the cross method to factorize a quadratic expression in the full form. And when it is a full form, it is in the form of ax squared plus bx plus c. And ax squared plus bx plus c is the general form to represent any quadratic expression. So if a, b and c are constants which are not 0, then you will have your quadratic expression in its fullest form. And how do you factorize such a quadratic expression? With the 5-step method. Let's look at case 2. If a is not 1, for example, factorize 5x squared minus x minus 6. Alright guys, now I want you all to take a look at this quadratic expression here. Alright, in this quadratic expression, you can compare it with the general form of ax squared plus bx plus c. And it is very important always to identify the constants before you determine which type of factorization method are you going to use. So now, if you look at 5x squared minus x minus 6, the constant 5 is a. Right? And the constant a is always in front of the x with the power of 2. And then if you look at the constant b, which is not here, but you know that b is negative 1. And if you look at the whole quadratic expression, the constant c is the whole thing. And this is c, minus 6. So if a is 5, and b is minus 1 and c is minus 6, you have a quadratic expression. And how do you factorize this quadratic expression? It belongs to case 2. If you remember, in case 1, the constant a of the quadratic expression is 1. But today we are looking at quadratic expressions where the constant a is not 1. And for example, in this here, it is 5. So this whole quadratic expression needs to be factorized by using the 5-step method. Using the table method, or also known as the cross method, the first step, draw two lines. In step 2, rewrite ax squared and c as a product of two terms. In step 3, apply the cross method. In step 4, double check the product and sum accordingly. And the final step, step 5, rewrite the quadratic expression in the factor form. So guys, when you see a quadratic expression like this, it is very important to identify the 5 steps, for they will help you to form the two linear expressions for every quadratic expressions. Alright, we're going to factorize the quadratic expression that I've just put up on the board here. Okay, in 5x squared minus x minus 6, the same 5 steps apply. The very first step, draw 2 lines, and I'm sure you're familiar. The 2 lines, one is a vertical line and the other one is a horizontal line. Alright, in the second step, rewrite the product of 5x squared and 6 as a product of 2 terms. This is very familiar because it is same as the steps in case 1. So if you look carefully at 5x squared, recall all the combinations that will give you a product of 5x squared. And there can be only one combination. And how do you get 5x squared? You get it by multiplying 5x by x. Now, let's take a look at 6. What are the combinations to give you 6? Well, you can try 3, 2 or 6 times 1. Alright, but I'm going to go with the product of 6 times 1. Why? Let us check out the third step, which is apply the cross method. So what is the cross method? All the diagonals must be multiplied after you have placed the product into the 2 columns. So x multiplied by 6 will give you 6x. And the other cross method comes here. 5x multiplied by 1 will give you 5x. Remember, there is no positive or negative sign until this step. That brings us to step 4, which is now to check the sum and the product of terms accordingly. And in this part, you are going to put the positive or negative sign. How do you check it? Look at this column here. From 6x and 5x, how are you going to obtain negative x? You got to put the signs. And the only way to get negative x is by putting negative on the top and positive below. Because negative 6x added with 5x will give you negative x. So the very first step to check whether you have factorized correctly is when you add up the terms here, according to the sign, it must give you back the term in the middle of the quadratic expression. Alright, but that is not all, because now we have to double check. When the signs have already been put here, transfer the signs over to the left column. If this column gives you the sum to check, this column must give you the product, which must equal to the term C in the quadratic expression. So if minus 6 is multiplied by positive 1, you obtain a product of minus 6. And if you look back at your quadratic expression, yes, the product of minus 6 is here, and the sum earlier is correct. So this means that your 2 factors of this particular quadratic expression are 5x minus 6 and x plus 1, and you must always rewrite them. So therefore the factors are 5x minus 6 and x plus 1. So you have managed to successfully reduce this quadratic expression into its 2 linear algebraic expressions, and that, guys, is the whole point of factorization. Alright, let's look at our next exercise. Factorize completely each of the following quadratic expressions. Alright, remember the word and the key word here is factorize. So you got to identify the steps in order to factorize it. Now we're going to do this together, right? Alright guys, you must always identify if the constant a, and I know what you're talking about here, A is always the constant in front of x squared. If it is not 1, this means that we are in case 2, what we are learning today. Alright, now let's look at the first exercise here. Factorize this quadratic expression. So let's go through the 5 steps again. Right, the first step for number 1 is to draw 2 lines. Okay, and when you have 2 lines, you have always one vertical and one horizontal. And remember, the next step is to always rewrite ax squared, in this case 2x squared, and c, which is 2. Only take the first and the third. Alright, and you must now try to think of possible combinations. Okay, so if 2x squared, think it is the product of 2x times x. There can be only one combination. You can confirm it and write it down in the first column. Alright, now what are the product of 2? There also can be only one combination, which is 2 times 1. But now, since A is 2, sometimes you do not know where to put. Do you put the A 2 here and the 1 here, or the other way around? Well, this is always a method of trial and improvement. If you do not get the combination, do not give up. Try again until you can get the combinations to double check your expression. Alright, so now 1 and 2. Okay, and the cross method must be applied. Okay, 2x multiplied by 2 gives you 4x, and x multiplied by 1 gives you x. Okay, then I'm sure you know what to do now. Put the sign. 4x and x. How are you going to arrange the positive and negative signs such that you will get negative 5x? Well, you need to put negative on both, because negative x, negative 4x gives you negative 5x, and this is the sum. Okay, so first check done, it gives you negative 5x. Now we must double check. Transfer the signs and put them in a tiny corner here, and identify the multiplication of minus 1 and negative 2. Will it give you positive 2? Well, spot on. Right, so once you get both this right, and you manage to check it with the original quadratic expression, take a look at the column on the left. The factors are 2x minus 1 and x minus 2. So the factors are 2x minus 1 and x minus 2. Okay, remember. Now let's go to the second exercise. How are we going to factorize this whole thing? So guys, please look carefully at the constant a. Alright, first of all, it is not 1, so it belongs to the second case. And it's all using trial and error. Alright, the more you get familiar to it, the faster you can get. So now, 2 lines, and then check. What is the combination of 2x squared? Alright, well, there is only one combination, because you can get it only by multiplying 2x by x. Alright, now, how do you get a 15? Remember, do not put the negative yet. Alright, it will be put later. What are the factors of 15? Well, you can try 15 times 1 or 5 times 3. Alright, but as you go on, there can be only one exact combination. So you must choose and identify that exact combination. Well, let's try. To get a 15, let me try putting a 3 and a 5 over here. Alright, and then let's apply the cross method. Okay, when you cross, it will give you an indication on whether you have chosen the right combination. Alright, so 2x times 5 gives you a positive 10x, x times 3, 3x. Is there any way that you can obtain positive 7x from a 3x and 10x? Yes, you can, by putting positive here and negative here, because negative 3x plus 10x gives you positive 7x. So if you manage to arrive at this step, you are almost on your way there to factorize the quadratic expression. But don't take things for granted, alright? Double check your answer by putting the two signs over at the left, the same two signs that you have put in the far right column. Minus 3 multiplied by positive 5 gives you negative 15. Okay? And negative 15 is the expression here in C. So you've managed to check. Remember, the sum must always give you the middle. The product here must always give you the term on the far right of the quadratic expression. And lastly, which is always step 5, rewrite the expressions, alright, as the factorized product of what you have just obtained. So the factors for this quadratic expression are 2x minus 3 and x plus 5. So I've managed to factorize it. Alright, let's look at example here in 3. How do you factorize 8x squared minus 6x plus 5? Alright, one glance and you'll be able to see that A is 8. So when you have a number that is bigger than 1, alright, the combinations might be a bit more. Alright, so you might need a little patience to do it. Alright, so now let's factorize the third one. Okay, same 5 steps. Draw the two lines. Alright, and then now 8x squared. Remember, what are the combinations of 8x squared? Alright, now there are two scenarios. Alright, the bigger the number and the more factors it is, the more you have to consider. So now you must think whether you put 8x multiplied by x, or there's another combination which is 4x multiplied by 2x. Which one? Well, you must try, okay, to put the right combination. Alright, I'm going to go with 4x multiplied by 2x. Okay, and then now, how do we get a 5? Well, the good thing is, there's only one combination to get a 5, which is 5 times 1 or 1 times 5. So now where do you put? Alright, try putting the 5 here and the 1 here. Okay, if you put the 1 and the 5, there's no big deal. You can always check it by using the 5-step method. Alright, let's see whether I've done this right or not. Alright, so after you have put in, the third step is always apply the cross method. Yeah? Cross method goes like this. Alright, so multiply diagonally. 4x times 1 gives you 4x, and 2x multiplied by 5 gives you 10x. Remember, don't put any positive or negative sign until you have completed all the 3 columns in this table. Now, let's check the sum in this column and the product in this column. They must match, alright, the terms in the original quadratic expression. Alright, now, is there a certain way that you can rearrange the positive and negative signs in 10x and 4x such that you will get, remember, check this with the middle term. Can you get a negative 6x? Of course you can. Alright, means I've chosen the right combination. By putting 4x and 2x and 5 and 1, I managed to get the right combination. Alright, so in order to get negative 6x, you must arrange your sign. The negative must be top and the positive must be below. Remember, this is very important. One mistake in the sign, alright, and you have failed to identify the factors of the quadratic expression. So please be very careful in that. Okay, so now put the signs over here. Alright, and now let's check the product. Minus 5 times 1, minus 5. Alright, so the factors of this quadratic expression are 4x minus 5 and 2x plus 1. Alright? Okay, now we're going to look at another two examples. Alright, same, factorize completely each of the following quadratic expressions. Okay. Alright, another two more. Let's look at number 4. 12x squared plus 25x plus 12. Alright, now, same method, drawing two lines. What are the combinations for 12x squared? Alright, there are many. Alright, so you must choose the right combination. Is it 6 by 2, 4 by 3, or 12 by 1? Alright, so now let us simply choose at random. Okay, so 4x by 3x. And then now let's look at 12. Alright, let's see the combinations. It can be 6 by 2 or 4 by 3. So I'm just going to put and try. Alright, let's try to cross multiply them. Alright, now if you look at this case, 18 and 8, alright, they are not able to get a combination. Means this combination is already not right. So let us try again. Alright, now let's go with another combination. 12x squared, and it's 6x by 2x and 3 by 4. Alright, and it's 24x and 6x. Alright, this is also not the right combination. Why? Because the product of addition and subtraction here will not get a 25. A combination of 4x and 3x to obtain your 12x squared. Alright, and to get 12, 3 by 4. Alright, remember guys, you need patience, alright, because 12x squared and 12, there are many possible combinations. So if you cannot tally on the right hand side, try another combination until you get it. Alright, if you do this, the cross method will give you 9x on the top and 16x below. And from 16x and 9x, there is a possibility to get a positive 25x. That is by putting both positive. Okay, and check and see. Transfer the sign, the product will give you positive 12. So once you check these two parts, it must give you the second term and the third term. Once you do that, you have managed to identify the factors, and you must always write them down at the last method. Alright, one final example for you all. Okay, let's factorize this quadratic expression. So, okay, this is not as complicated because 3x squared consists of only one combination. And 4 times 1 or 2 times 2, well, I'm going to pick a guess, 2 times 2. Alright, if I do that, it will give me a cross method of 2x on top and 6x below. And there is a way to get a minus 4x, which is putting the negative on 6x and positive. Add them up, you should get negative 4x. Half your factorization is done. Transfer it here, and lastly, the product. Positive 2 times negative 2 gives you negative 4. So what are the factors of this quadratic expression? Look at the left and rewrite them in one line. So guys, we have learned how to factorize quadratic expression, especially in this manner, where a is not 1. Remember the 5 steps. Alright, now there's a quick test for you. There are 2 quadratic expressions which I want you to factorize. Alright, let's look at this quick test. Factorize completely each of the following quadratic expressions. Alright, number 1, 5x squared minus 7x plus 2. And number 2, 3x squared plus 2x minus 8. Alright, I give you some time to factorize them. Alright, I'm sure you have your factors with you. I want you to check the answers. I'll read them to you. For number 1, the factors are x minus 1 and 5x minus 2. And for question 2, the factors are 3x minus 4 and x plus 2. Alright guys, so we have come to the conclusion of lesson 5. And what have we learned today? Let's recap. Factorization of quadratic expressions in the form of ax squared plus bx plus c, where a is not 1. And remember, you must apply the 5 steps. And one key thing to remember is be patient. Sometimes the combinations takes time for you to get the perfect choice. Alright guys, we've come to the end of today's lesson. Alright, now I'll see you in the next one. Right? Remember, work hard, practice hard, you'll be at the top. Thank you, and see you next time.